first, welcome.
Thank you.
This is Kris, and she is here not as a therapist,
Because I am not one.
but you are a therapist. So you are here. Welcome to Therapist Sanctuary.
Thank you.
And I started this podcast because I want a place where therapists can tune in and not just hear themselves through other therapists, but also hear from people who've been to therapy, leaving all names out of it, of course. No reference to anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to work hard on that.
Yeah.
I will. I'll be good.
And hear from people who've gone to therapy, their experiences and what helped and what didn't and what you would advise and, all of that kind of stuff. It's all about therapy.
I love
and
therapy.
What helped you change, what didn't, that kind of stuff. So I just want you to start, though, by telling us a little bit about yourself and
why I went to therapy.
if you want. If you want to dive right in. We could slow roll it in.
What about me is slow rolling, Jen? Nothing. Let's get nitty gritty.
Let's get into it.
I am somebody who likes to think that they are fairly self-aware.
Yes.
Always room for improvement. But I'm hypersensitive to other people. I'm hypersensitive to other people's quirks and neat personality traits. So I want to say what actually initially started me going to therapy had nothing to do with what the work is that I did while I was there.
Oh, interesting. And
I want to say that's pretty common.
Yes.
It has to be.
We go in, the joke in therapy is you go in with one problem and you come out with 20.
20 that are or 400.
Yeah.
So I want to say, to be completely honest, what took me to therapy is that I had an employee that I was already 10 years in the game of having staff. And it was growing, and it got to a fairly large capacity. And there was just one personality type that I really struggled with. I had no idea how to connect with them. I didn't know how to mentor them. And at the time, I felt a little bit that my hands were tied and I had to do whatever was possible to make this work.
Because you have your own business.
I have my own business. I had a partner in my business and we had anywhere between 8 and 20 staff.
Okay.
So in the height of it always functions well until you have that one person that I honestly...
And don't you always have one?
There kind of is. But then I guess that there's always something to learn
99%
from it.
of your time is spent with 1% of your people.
And you have to choose those well.
Yeah.
So that's what brought me there, was I need to figure out, is it me? Is every single thing she does trigger me? Do I have to work on something? And then, of course, it turned into shame, people pleasing, all of those things about your personality that you were able to put a vocabulary to. So it got really interesting to me. And I also like the fact of being able to pick the brain of different therapists. Because I have loved everyone I've seen. And they've all done different things.
Right?
I've seen 3.
Okay. Why don't you contrast them for us?
Contrast them? Like what each one did for me?
Yeah. How are they different? Okay. How are they the same?
Okay, one was the first one that I had ever gone to. I didn't know what to expect, so I had no expectations. And I kind of thought, am I being honest with myself? Am I giving this person I'm paying a complete honest reflection of what I think? Or am I just telling them what I kind of want them to think so they think I'm nice? And they like me.
Exactly.
And then we're going to bond on our shoes.
I'm laughing because I've done that. I do that. I still do that in therapy. I want them to like me and think that I'm nice and
is she gonna go make supper and be like, that girl has a freaking white girl privilege who grew up in a Mary Poppins household, who's upset that her mom called her a bitch when she was 12.
I didn't wait till I was 12, till my daughter was 12. I started that earlier.
Yeah. No shame.
No shame.
No shame.
Well, shame, but we'll just own that.
Oh, right. So I want to say for me, I recognized patterns quicker. I recognized things about myself that I might see in other people that I wanted to be intentional in making sure that I didn't go down a pattern that would turn me into that. So then I started kind of comparing myself, going, well,
Of course.
can you tell me if you do that, like in therapy? Because like, is that normal? Like, tell me your shit. Because
And did they? Did any
not
of
the
them?
first one. Yes. Second and third did. In a way that wasn't putting them in a position that was making it all about them by
Right.
any means.
They
It
didn't
wasn't
start
that way.
crying and telling
No.
about their child.
And like weren't trying to like talk too much and be like, well, do you want to know what happened to me when I was 10?
Right.
There was none of that, but
Yeah.
there was just very eloquent validation, which I could pick up on easily. So for me, 2 out of the 3 I had an incredible instant connection with. And the first one, I would say nothing negative. It just wasn't the right fit. And I knew I wasn't being authentic enough. And I
So I
needed
was
to
gonna
find
say-
someone who would hold me to it.
I was going to say, how did you get over that people pleasing with the therapist?
I'm still not over it.
Like, did you get through it with that person or did you switch?
No. I did the like, okay, I'm going to go 2 times. I'm going to go, okay, the first time, okay, that was not really what I expected. That was kind of weird, but maybe she's just trying to get to know me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the second time, I'm like, okay, no, I know. I left there going, A, what did we even really talk about? And 2, was I speaking to her trying to sell myself? Or was I going in there trying to be like, hey, I acknowledge this sucks about myself and I really want to work on it or change it. Or and then have them be like, well, why do you see that in yourself? That didn't work with me. What worked with me was making me see outside the box, putting me in a position that the art therapy, right? Like I want you to draw me this picture and then I'm handed the paper and then all of a sudden the conversation starts at, you know, that you drew that in this little corner and it started this whole conversation. Why do you feel small? Is this your shame? Like it started this and I was like, yeah, look at everything has a reason. There's a reason why.
Yes.
There's always a reason.
There's always a reason.
Always.
I
always want to know
who
them.
used to always say, if you know your client well enough, everything they do will make sense. And it's your job to know them well enough.
Okay, so as a therapist, knowing your clients well enough, how do you differentiate personal judgment versus what if somebody came to you with problems that were like all against your core value system and you're trying to help them through something that you just don't agree with? How do you say I'm not the proper therapist for you and I'd like to refer you?
I'm trying
or
to
do you
think.
try and figure out how to get
Good
into
question. Ooh, the tables have turned suddenly.
see, because I like it.
Okay, well, there's this thing called unconditional positive regard, which is so important in therapy. It is like the key. And Carl Rogers was the father of it all, Uncle Carl.
Okay.
And so basically, my own values really don't matter in that space of therapy.
Can you,
I need to
how do you,
accept
when it
the
comes
person
into your
in front of
head,
me. I need to accept them completely and unconditionally for therapy to work. So it doesn't, I won't say it never affects me, because sometimes it has, like working with people who are, say, perpetrators, or working with people who, I'm trying to think of a real life example. Just, yeah, there's people that on a personal level, I might not jive with them, but I'm not there personally. Like, I'm there to...
is that a natural thing or is that taught? Are you taught how to shut that off?
I think I was taught.
Yeah?
Yeah. And one of the things I was taught about it was just own the judgment. like I own the judgment inside. Like I have a judgment, this is wrong. And it's okay. Like in counseling school, we were always talking about, oh, we won't have any judgment. It'll be unconditional positive regard. And I do really practice that. But we're human beings. We have judgments, we have values, things clash. So I just go through, a mentor of mine taught me, like, just own it, know what it is. You don't have to say it to the client. That's what you say in supervision.
Yeah.
And then figure out what it is about me that's about, and clear the space, because like
go down the rabbit hole of why am I triggered by it?
Yeah.
Why is it affecting me like that?
And why does it matter? Because I am in service to the person who's coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter to me what my values are in that scenario. Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right. It doesn't. I guess it would be the equivalent of a doctor patient. Your medical doctor GP is there for your body.
Yeah.
You are a body.
So it'd be like probably, oh well, no, that's something different. I will talk about that later. But it would be like a GP not being able to tolerate someone making poor choices with their body.
There you go.
And there are people like that.
Yes, there are.
There are doctors like that who will shame you because you made a bad choice. And there are therapists like that who can't tolerate someone who would be an alcoholic or is actively using or has hurt their kids or I mean, it does happen, but I think it's such a good question. My God, it's throwing me off a little.
Because it is. It's a human nature thing.
I just want to know why.
I love the whys too.
I just want to know, what is it that happened to this person that
has caused it?
Yeah, like behavior. I would say the most I get sort of triggered by that kind of stuff is when the story's too close to mine. Mm-hmm. So if I see someone and they have a very similar story or experience, especially around sexual abuse and incest, if I see someone that has a very similar,
does that make you does that make you want to like, oh, or does that make you want to like, oh?
Both at the same time.
It's like a push and a pull.
Yeah, totally. Like I think sometimes I'm too affected by it to be neutral. So.
But to me, that's a human being.
Yeah.
There isn't a human being on the planet that doesn't have a trauma.
Right, and you can't take the humanness out of the therapist. Like, you don't want to.
No.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
I almost say to you, you should have been a therapist, because
I would have loved to.
I'm already like the one answering the questions.
Because can they just give me an honorary degree? And then give me a list of the stuff I'm not allowed to say. Then I'm in. Just tell me why. I'm not solving any problems, but you can tell me all of them. I want to know why. Yeah. It's interesting. Human behavior is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And especially the privilege I own with being in my career choice for over 25 years. And now at the point where for the last 20 plus, I have been stable and smaller, on a smaller capacity, where I am able to pick and choose who gets to come and see me now. So that also leads with another level of what the average every 6-week customer feels comfortable telling me.
Because your clients have been coming to you so long.
We're going through first marriage, second marriage, death of parents, death of children, sexually transmitted diseases, lost pregnancies, IVF, sexual abuse, domestic violence. Yeah, you name it. It is all happened. And then you have to sit back and realize that a part of that is a privilege, because those people have been coming to see you every 6 weeks and they feel safe in that little domain.
Well, I think I've told you this before, getting my haircut. That a long time ago I worked in this agency as a therapist, and there was this funding that came forward, and they wanted to train hairdressers, massage therapists, and back then taxi drivers in crisis intervention, because they said those are the people that a lot of people confide abuse in. Those are the roles.
I get that. I see why that would be.
Right?
Totally. And I don't think a person in my craft that is using our industry as a stepping stone to maybe some other choice of career doesn't get to experience that.
But I want to bring it up here. Like,
I've
what
talked about this
is
so
it
much.
that elicits that kind of disclosure from people?
For one, I can only speak from my own examples and did I have that happen as much when I was living in the big city and just doing my, 9 to 5? Not as much. It was much more uncommon.
Okay.
But I feel like a little bit of it for me too is that moving back to our area, I come from generations of family members here. Yeah.
Oh,
so that
so
also
know you.
they also know me. So they know me, they know my parents, they know my grandparents. And so I come from
You're
think
homegrown.
that I'm homegrown, girl. I am homegrown.
But that might make some people not want to tell you things, I would have thought. But maybe it's the opposite.
You know what also helps in my world is that there was, in the beginning of me growing my business, I was really bothered by some of the experiences I had working in other salons when it came to confidentiality.
Oh, like
and that was never really discussed in school, because the typical hairdresser, you don't tell your hairdresser because they're going to blab it everywhere. We're gossip queens. We're working with women. You don't do that. That's a stereotype. And I have witnessed that stereotype more often than not.
Yeah. When
I started hearing and being witness to customers being vulnerable with me, I felt the need to protect them from that. It was like a protection thing. So no, if you're going to come and work with me, there's going to be a confidentiality part to this.
Right.
And then that got around. And then that would be discussed. And they would think, how did you do that? Like, because this is what's important to me, and it's nobody else's business. So it cannot be repeated from where you're sitting right now.
Right.
And I love that. I love that my customers feel that safe in my space, because they will never, ever hear it somewhere else. It's between me and them, and only me and them. So yeah, it's a privilege is what it is. And then you have to understand that privilege. And I don't think that there's enough value put to that.
Right. How sacred it is.
It is to go to school for 9 months and to then apprentice for 1,500 months or 1,500 hours in order to, it's a pretty amazing thing.
It is. Must make your job I was going to say juicy.
It still shocks me. I still am shocked constantly. Yeah. And I think for my own self, it's the bond that you attract your vibe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Yeah. So if I was to break down my personal clientele, my whole clientele have something in common.
What?
Medical. There is a medical component, healthcare component. Whenever it comes to, I have a lot of therapists, I have nurses, teachers, doctors,
helping professions.
Helping professions.
What do you see in common with the therapists? Oh my God.
Okay, what do I see in common is intensity.
Really?
Yeah. Therapists are incredible listeners. And therapists, for me, the therapists that I have, which is a significant handful, like coming to my space because it's the only time somebody else asks them questions.
It's so true.
I seriously think so.
Oh, that's good.
I get to drive the hour-long appointment and I take control of it. And you guys are used to being on that hour. You have your 15-minute to grab your next file and to study and to do everything you need to do in order to prepare for your next person. And you're striving for a goal. I'm going to ask them these 5 questions, and if I can't get movement in that, I'm going to redo them and do the next 5 questions. So you're going to come and sit in my chair. We're all automatically bond over some kind of a weird humor, food, helping people, solving anything that goes to gay, lesbian rights, anything that has to do with autonomy over a female's body. We are automatically bonded, and we have this sisterhood. Yeah. Right? And then I'm going to ask them every single question about them.
Is it intensity?
Oh yeah, it is this If a therapist is going to ask you a question, they seriously want to know the answer.
So true.
There is not a, I'm just being polite.
Right.
There's not a, I'm coming through the
That's
motions.
true.
There's no bullshit with therapists.
Yeah.
They say what
We
they're
really
thinking
do.
when they think.
We really do want to know about people. Like
You
it's
do.
really genuinely. And I remember clients from 20 years ago. I remember things they drew.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
I
Or
can flash
breakthroughs
on
they've
it.
had.
Yeah. Totally.
Right? And that's what drives you.
Yeah.
That drives me in my capacity. It drives me because you're automatically walking through the door to come and see me because your hair is not working.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know you're going to be either validated, you're going to laugh, you're going to have something sweet to eat.
Yeah. We usually laugh.
Or I'm going to read your body language the minute you walk through the door and know something's up and you might just need some quiet time and I'm going to rub your head and it's going to be all good and I'll see you in 6 weeks. It is that you can feel it. Some hairdressers are empathetic and some are just there because they like the craft. I like the people and the craft.
Yes, you do. I know that about
That to me is the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably for any business, really. For
in
therapists, too.
customer service.
Yeah.
Or when it comes to people, as long as it's authentic.
Yeah. So, did you ever have like an experience with any kind of helping professional where you would have loved to have given them a little feedback about that and say, maybe don't do that anymore?
Yeah, like nurses that shouldn't be nurses.
Okay, do tell. Let's spill it. Go for it.
Okay, she was a nurse that had very, very poor behavior over something that probably had nothing to do with being late for an appointment and decided to take that poor behavior out on me.
Oh, like as a client.
Where as a client in my salon, where you think if you are in a helping profession and you can speak to a stranger over that under a late appointment and you're going to use that kind of language in a professional business, how are you able to be not reactive at work? How are you able to not be discriminatory at work? How are you able to, how can you put all of that aside when you behave like that in the real world? Have you ever experienced it though? Like from a helping professional, being the paid? I unfortunately have not experienced that. You've had I'm saying fortunately, I'm going to say fortunately, I have not experienced that. I've been so lucky. I have. But again, the majority of my experiences have been here and I know everybody. Like to the capacity where I'm saying, if I'm in need or if I am in crisis, I have a privilege of having a cell phone number potentially to somebody that I would automatically trust to go to in need of help for that crisis. Yeah. Does everybody have that? No. So when you've gone to those 3 therapists, did you know all of them ahead of time? I don't know. Did I know you ahead of time? Well, you would have been the only one that I would have known ahead of time. Yeah. Because I didn't ever do the other 2. So you would have been the only one. Yeah. How did you feel like first appointment ever in therapy? Well, but because I was with somebody, with you or with that, my first initial? With your first initial. My first initial, it was just, I felt like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Shake your hand and then sit down. What are you going to, I'm going to sit down on the chair and should I like. Nervous. Yeah, like uncomfortable. I had no expectation. Like, am I going to tell this person? They're going to say, why are you here? And I'm going to say, because there's a person I don't work with well. And they're going to say, well, what was your childhood like? Okay. So they did. Okay. We're so predictable. And I'm doing the like, you are doing exactly what is on TV right now when they are making a satire about therapy. How'd you feel about that? How's that make you feel? It made me feel kind of like this is kind of like the stereotype. Yeah, I know. So it's that question. It is. But then that's when I also met you and I was like, okay, this is not at all what I was going to expect. So everything that I was able to learn and understand and recover from in coming to see you was so different. It was so out of the box. And that's the kind of things I'm really attracted to. So I think when someone is, as a patient, trying to find a therapist, I think that it's not as easy as just picking up the phone and seeing who's taking clients.
Yeah.
And I know we're in we're in a crisis
click.
of not having enough, and I understand that. And I mean, there's a different thing, but there needs to be a click, and there needs to be something that you can relate to with them. There needs to be a commonality between the patient and the therapist.
Right. There has to be a relationship. I mean, that's what they say. No matter what technique you're trained in or do, or no matter how good you are at it, if you don't have a relationship that is real and
you
authentic,
have to trust that person.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. So, I mean, like, even for people who just have a problem with that, I tend to be an over-truster in the very beginning of meeting people. And I know that about myself, because I could be, oh, yeah, come over and I'm going to buy the homeless person some new teeth and you're going to come. I just trust everybody. Not that you're, right? Like, I trust everybody. And you have to, when you're in therapy and you're going to show your ugly side to somebody, that's when you know you have trust. If you are a person that doesn't do that. If you can let your ugly hang out and drive to the parking lot and still get out of your car.
Yeah, what you really think. Not what you think they want to hear. The reason I'm laughing about that homeless thing is, do you ever watch Real Housewives?
All the time. It's just a dirty secret.
You know the episode where they were doing the fundraiser of the homeless not toothless? And they kept calling it toothless, not homeless. That cracked me up. That joke went on for way too long. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So yeah, I do. I find all of that stuff just so addictive. Anything reality TV.
Me too.
It's just
I can't get enough of reality. I don't know why.
But so that's why you like hearing people's dirty stuff.
Some therapists are like, oh no, I don't watch any of that shit when I go home. I want to watch fluffy, light romance. I'm like,
I watch serial killers.
Jeffrey Dahmer, the Menendez brother. Like, give me
Okay, so have you ever had a client who has killed people?
I don't know if I should say.
I would just be so fascinated.
Right?
Okay, how about this?
I'm fascinated
How about this? Have you ever had somebody who has committed premeditated murder?
Like, if I'm not gonna answer the first question, what the hell?
Because I don't want to know about the people who just accidentally kill someone. I want to know about the ones who like sit in bed and they're like, tomorrow night.
Have I ever? I could answer it this way. Have I ever worked with someone where they did something really dark and I would have never guessed it?
Yes, that's a good question.
Yes, absolutely.
And are you incredibly fascinated by that, or does it scare you?
No, I've not felt scared. I'm fascinated to do that thing that I was taught. If you know them well enough, this will make sense to you. Plus, I think there's a murderer in everybody.
Well, yeah, of course, we're human beings.
Under the right
you darn right.
Right?
We are created that way.
Like, there's been times I've been really surprised by the inside of people's lives versus the way they look on the outside.
I'm surprised by that all the time too, but not to the capacity of stuff you hear.
Yeah, I found that. In a way, it kind of makes me feel more normal.
I can understand that for sure.
That feels wrong to say. But like, sometimes, you know, when you go through life and you think, does everybody else have their shit together and I'm the only one? And then
of course.
You hear, like as a therapist, you get to hear what goes on in people's families. And then I think, okay, we're okay. We're doing okay.
Are you like, phew? Whew. Are you like, wowza, on a scale of 1 to 10, we are floating through.
Or I just feel like, oh, everybody has shit. Everybody. Nobody is immune. Nobody is like knocking it out the park and other people are just fucking everything up. Like, it's not like that. Everybody has something. So I feel relieved to know.
Do you
know.
ever like want to say to somebody, like, this is all your fault?
Oh, I have said that.
I'm not surprised.
I've said it.
Like, you have created all of this?
Yes.
How do you say that nicely?
Well, first, I mean, a lot of times I've had a long time relationship.
Yeah.
You don't say that in the first 5 minutes or, you know, like, but, and I've had it said to me in therapy. I remember once saying to my therapist, I don't know if this is me or if this is the other person. I don't know. And he goes, of course it's you.
Were you insulted?
For a minute. But he's like, he kind of was like, when are you going to get it? That as long as you make it about other people, you will get nowhere. Like, take the part that is you. You're in this relationship. You have 50% of it, no matter what.
So,
and
like,
you have 100% of your 50.
100% of your 50.
And the other person has 50. And they have 100% of their 50. And as long as you work on the wrong 50, you're
getting nowhere.
Frustrated, resentful, bitter, angry. You know, because if it's about the other person changing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, acknowledging.
So yeah, like I have said, I mean, I sometimes have a reputation for being a bit blunt as a therapist because I can be pretty like direct at times, and I think people also sometimes want that. They want to know.
Don't you want that?
I do.
I do too.
I do, but it's not harsh in a way that I would just say, "Listen, it's all you, fuck you, loser."
Right.
You know, like
that damn judgment.
That whole thing about like just work on your side of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're unless you're living alone and you have no interaction with anybody, there's a part of it that's yours, and that's where your power is. Like it's actually exciting to embrace that. Because that's where you can change things, and that's where you have choice, and that's where you get to say no, when you get to say this isn't right for me, or I don't know. You know what's really fascinating to me right now?
Tell me.
How hard it is for me to answer these fucking questions you're asking me.
Sorry, I got another one coming too.
I'm like, whoa, am I sounding
But on
like
the therapist side, you're not at all, because as the client doesn't know what to expect from their therapist or what they're thinking.
Oh my gosh.
So from the other side, you've got the person that is sitting here in their chair, and on the other side, you've got a clipboard and your glasses and you're making some notes. So the person that's in the chair is going, what are you writing?
Oh, I know.
Are you writing like,
but you know what?
Her name is Kris.
I never write. If I'm going to write something, I move my chair and I do it so the client can see it. I just don't like the whole writing thing. But so
tell the client, what is the writing? What is happening there?
And the therapist I see right now does write. And I do get kind of paranoid, and I'm like, why did you write that down? Like, what are you writing?
Like, are you writing a note to remind yourself something the next time I see you?
Lots of therapists do that. Like, they'll usually disclose what they write. Like, I need to remember this. Sometimes you wouldn't believe how much memory work there is in therapy.
I can only imagine.
It is not something I was prepared for. And so, but a psychiatrist said it to me once. Once you have a connection that's emotional with the person, you remember everything you need to know.
Yeah, you do.
So I don't write notes, but unless I'm doing it with the client, usually a picture of their family or something. But yeah, a lot of therapists write points that they don't want to forget, or to do their notes later, or things they want to ask about.
Do you think that in order to be healthy, like a healthy, well-rounded human, that you should have therapy in your life all the time? Or do you think you should have more eras of therapy in your life?
Well, I don't tend to think in shoulds. I don't like shoulds.
I like that. Is it more beneficial?
I only know my own experience, right? I know that I needed it different times in my life for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't fully understand people who've never been to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to think they're missing out, but I happen to think I feel bad for people that aren't in a 12-step support group. You know, like I feel like they're missing out too. So I'm a little skewed.
I get that. I get it.
Skewed.
I'm kind of skewed
But
too
what
because
I
I believe
love-
everybody should be in therapy. Everybody.
I think there's a place for it for everybody. I wish it was more accessible for everybody. But like, I liked what you said at the beginning about the first time you went to therapy was an issue you were having with someone at work. And like, it doesn't have to be that you're having a nervous breakdown.
And it doesn't have to be that you're in crisis either.
No.
Yeah, and I think too that I'm hoping that the next generations are better at it and we're producing more because we are creating a better generation of communicators that way.
I think they already are. I mean, it is so normal for teenagers and kids to come to therapy. They love it. There's hardly any, I shouldn't say there's no, but there's way less stigma about it than when I was a teenager. Well,
I didn't know one person who went to therapy when I was a teenager. No.
Because I don't think we thought kids were that important. They just needed to behave.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They needed to know good manners
and everything was either called an attitude or acting out or bad behavior. It wasn't they were having a struggle, right? Or they were having issues that were real. So things have changed a lot. Like kids expect to be heard.
As they should.
Absolutely.
And I think too, being a mom and having 2 teenage girls, that I'm not going to say therapy is a mandatory thing in our house. It is not. But it is talked about a lot and very much encouraged. And we will do if it's not great, we'll move on and we'll keep going and keep going. And my point of it is that I want my kids to learn an emotional vocabulary.
Yes.
I'm not going to always know it because I'm learning it still.
Yeah.
But every single time I've done any therapy, my emotional vocabulary has increased astronomically. Well, you're able to communicate better.
Yes. And I heard on a podcast a long time ago and I thought, oh my God, he just nailed it. He said something about, when I went to therapy, I just got this vocabulary, like you said earlier, and same for me. My therapist is able to say things back to me in a way that gives me words to put on things that I couldn't find the words for.
Exactly.
And then you have this ability to digest it differently and share it differently and
lose the being misinterpreted or you lose that. You become effective.
Yeah.
In getting your
needs met.
Yes, your needs met and to be heard.
Yeah.
Because
do you do that in social settings too? Like, do therapists go out with their friends and go, "You two are screwed up, you're screwed up, and you need to start seeing me"?
Do we talk about each other's problems?
No, I mean like when you sit and you are with another group of people and you're at a dinner party and you're sitting there listening to the chatter that's going on.
Am I judging them?
Are you going
I
like,
don't know.
I could help you? You need to come and see me.
God.
Oh, you got to unload that.
No, you know what I'm doing? I'm completely mute because I don't know how to do small talk.
Oh, does it overstimulate you?
No, I hate it. I don't see the point of talking about. And so what I'm either saying nothing or I'm listening into what other people are talking about to get ideas of what people talk about social things like that. I think being a therapist ruins you at dinner table conversation. Like I know my friends feel that way too. Like, what is the point? I don't even know why we're here. I like getting dressed up and putting makeup on and going to something, and then I like coming home. But I hate being there.
Me too. But don't you wish you could just pick the people you were there with? It's like just 3 people. That would be great. Get dressed up and go to that.
1 person.
Oh, I like that even better.
Yeah. I'm a 1 person at a time kind of girl. As soon as there's more than 2 people, I get really anxious and I don't know how to track the conversation. I think I've lost my social skills.
An occupational hazard though of doing one-on-one all day long.
But I do groups. But see, I'm in control.
You're still in charge of them.
So when I'm not in control and I don't know what to talk about, I'm socially a disaster.
Have you always been though?
No.
Really?
When I gave up drinking, my social skills went to shit.
Okay, that is the most
because
common
I
thing I
don't-
hear too, because it
I
gives
don't
you confidence.
care.
Yeah.
But I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. When I gave up drinking, going to things where people are drinking and chatting about nothing completely is like two things that
I can't do it either.
I'm not interested.
Mindless. Like you're just wasting air. It's just mindless.
Yeah,
what
do you talk about?
I can't do it.
Like, I think who cares to know about some holiday I've been on?
Oh, I would.
Would you?
I actually really would. Yeah, I do. I really would. If we were at, I do. If we were at a, yeah, I really would. I would want to know what you ate.
We'd talk about that.
Sure shit we would. I'd be like, Jen, you just went to Hawaii. What, did you go to a luau? Did you eat that? What did you have? Yes, I would care. Yes, I would care. But I get your point. There are some things that it's just wasting air.
Occupational hazard, yeah. What is an occupational hazard of a hairdresser?
Kind of the same thing. It's when I don't do well with social settings either. I don't.
You're spent from it.
I'm spent. I'm so drained. I'm so drained from having to flip the switch on and off so many times in a day.
Oh.
The switch gets easier to turn on and off when you have these great relationships with all of your people.
Right. Because then it's just flowy.
And they also, you get to know your people for so long, they can tell if, like, you'd be able to walk in and be like, oh, you're getting over a cold, or you just not sleeping. Like, you would know, me well enough to know if I'm not my normal self.
Yeah.
And that gets harder to fake the older you get. So you just kind of stop faking it.
And who cares anymore?
And who cares anymore?
Yeah.
But that's also wisdom of coming with age too, right? No pleasing anymore. I don't have to.
Yeah.
I really don't have to do that. But yeah, it's a thing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It was fun.
It's so fun.
We'll do it
tell
again.
me about your vacation. I want to know all about
let's do one card.
Okay.
To end. Let's pick a card.
Mm-hmm.
Random.
Random?
A random pick.
Bum, 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 bum.
Is that for you or for me?
Oh, that's my pick. You pick. I pick. Oh.
What's it say?
Me first?
Yeah.
Am I asking you this question?
No, you ask you.
Which people are giving me energy and which people take it away?
Oh. Feels risky to answer.
Isn't that funny that I want to answer the negative one instantly?
Human.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay, thanks, therapist.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for validating that.
You're
no
welcome.
judgment. People that take away my energy are like to the core negative people. Those complainers, those everything is bad.
Hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can't. It drains my whole, I can't do it. I can't sit and listen to the Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Eeyore.
Yeah.
Which people give me energy? People who are smiley and make good eye contact.
Make you laugh.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is funny will give me energy. Anything.
Me too.
You too? You feed off it?
I totally do.
Right? Can you tell me yours?
What would I do if I wasn't afraid of failing? Stop worrying about my weight.
What a great answer.
Yeah, I don't want to say that. I don't want that to be the answer, but it is.
Is there any time
I would like to live in a body where I'm not constantly monitoring what I should be doing with it or shouldn't be doing, or what I need to do more and do. I don't know.
Do you know anybody that exists for?
If there is anyone out there who's at peace with their body and never worries about it being too big, whatever. Do people worry about their body being too small? Some people do.
Yeah, you're right. Some people do. People who are ill do. Yeah, if you're bad.
I was going to say people we hate. Oops. Sorry.
Put that in. I love it. But you're not wrong. Like, why do we Have you ever been in your body and been,
Satisfied?
yeah,
Only in retrospect.
really? Never and
Seriously.
an in present moment. You never had a present moment in a body that you're like, yep, we're good.
I have to be honest, only in retrospect when I went, how I was then, that was great. Because look at me now, you know, I do that whole thing. And then I think, one day I'm going to be looking back on this moment saying, I looked great
But to who?
to me.
To you.
But I'm worried about, you know,
I
do you?
know.
Do you think?
I
that
want to say
there's
for
people that are
I-
content, or have
yeah,
you been?
yes, there is. I do. Yes, there is. There are people who are content. You bet there are.
What size are they? Because you know the people that talk about being content, but they're like completely ripped.
Assholes. If that's your God-given genetics, you don't get a say. How about that? You don't get to. We're
Right?
not going to ask you if
Or
those
they
are your genetics.
Want to talk about how you should accept yourself more, but they're like a size. They've never changed size since they were in high school.
Oh my God, assholes. Assholes.
See, and this is the thing. It's completely body image issues. And yet, you know, I work with people with that. But because
So
not
what you
because
would
I
tell
have
your
my
people,
shit together.
would it work on you? If a therapist told you what you tell people that are working on body image, would it work for you?
The stuff I tell people, do I take my own advice?
But if it came from a professional, that advice, would it work?
Well, if it was about getting a hit of like self-acceptance no matter what, and like who cares, and fuck the systems that have made us believe we're not okay, because I think that's what I would say to people who are my clients. I can take that for sure.
Because you believe that.
I believe that.
You do.
And I need to hear it sometimes. That's why I need to be naked in the pool change room.
I was just going to say, do you remember that time you told me you went to Golden and took all your clothes off and danced like a fairy in the forest?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember saying I danced like a fairy.
That was my interpretation. It probably wasn't your words, but maybe that's what I was thinking in my head.
I have a thing about nudity because I feel like nudity, I could be a nudist. Like, I feel like nudity with other women
fascinating
is what makes me feel better about my body, because it's the one time I go, oh, we're all different.
But we're all the same too.
We're all the same, but we're all different shapes.
Yes.
Like, I remember going to this women's weekend and we all eventually got naked, 60 women.
Wow.
And I was looking at these women. I mean, some of them were like horses. Like, they were 6 feet tall and built and big. And I thought, oh my God, they're beautiful. Like, there was something about having our clothes off and just being there with our bodies. That would have been a time when I felt really good.
Really?
I felt really good. And it was just being able to see the normalcy of...
And it probably had nothing really to do with your actual own body or the size you were at. It was you were in a room full of a million sizes and different bodies that...
It made me just feel like...
Nobody cares what your body looks like.
Yeah, it was really good. I like myself more without clothes than with clothes.
That's really cool.
The clothes wreck it for me.
That's awesome.
Well, but you can't really go to work like that. You know what I mean?
I don't know what kind of therapy you be doing, but like...
You'd be surprised.
I want to hear all about it. Isn't that funny? I just would love to know what it would take for women. Would it take like, you want to know what? No, it wouldn't even. I'm like, if there was no social media, if there was no magazines, if there was no, like, we're all living off the land, even then you're going to still compare yourself.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what it is. I mean, I compare myself to myself younger. Like I'm not supposed to change.
Yeah, I can understand. That's common. I get that.
Yeah.
I have moments of that too.
Yeah. And did I enjoy it? Did I know to enjoy myself?
No, you didn't, because
I didn't. I was worried about it. I'm still not. One day I'm going to weigh 500 pounds and I'm going to look back on today and go, fuck, I was hot.
right? You will.
right in this moment.
Yeah, when you don't fit in that chair anymore. And
I
you'll be like,
know.
remember when I could sit in that chair and cross my legs?
I remember when I realized I have only ever gained weight every year. When is that going to stop? Like, what? I've never actually gone down.
Has anybody you've ever known ever gone down? I don't know one woman.
Ozempic.
Well, yeah.
Ozempic.
Okay, you know, actually, I feel like I had judgment over Ozempic, and now I have been educated, and my judgment has gone completely away on Ozempic.
I have jealousy.
Do it.
Well, but then I'm hearing, Ozempic face and like that it's just muscle you're losing, and that, so I'm worried about that. But I mean, I don't know because
How is it going to change your life?
It wouldn't. I'd be weak.
Be weak. You would be
would not-
constipated. You wouldn't
I'd
be
be
hungry.
weak and constipated and
Seriously, and
skinny
miserable.
and happy. My really good friend that I grew up with, I think she's been taking it and she's looking good. And I was like,
Okay, but here's the
This is
problem.
the
There's
dream
a line
everybody
of looking
wants.
good.
this is the dream everybody wants in therapy, in their bodies, and we want the pill. In addiction, in recovery, where is the pill? If there's just a pill I could take and it would take it all away, don't we?
You wouldn't have a job if we had a pill.
That's so true. We do have pills.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're really good, but
But they don't
I
fix
don't
everything.
I think you miss out on that journey of, okay, well, here we go. Like, I want to be on a journey where I learn to accept me and love
So I feel
me.
like that's something
don't
that
wanna
we're
miss out on
constantly
that.
striving for.
I don't want to miss out on that.
I think there's seasons of it. I feel like sometimes we're really good at it and we're aware of it and we know better.
Yeah.
And then we have a season of
Feeling like shit.
rebuilding all of that again. Yeah. Losing it all and rebuilding it.
That's so depressing.
Seriously.
Okay,
And
well,
it's
on that note,
everybody, man. On that note,
thanks for coming.
thank you for having me.